Hey guys, this is Volen. Thank you all for the amazingly warm welcome. Thank you also for the insane response that the last video got. I really wasn't expecting anything. I just wanted to give you guys an update that was way overdue. Some people were genuinely concerned that I might have died or something like that, which to me is just amazing that anyone would care. So thank you to those people. No thank you for the people that were saying that I am dead. Either way, I wasn't really planning on making any more videos. I was just gonna give you the update and run away and hide away in my hole again and just keep on working on all the things that I still have so much work to do on. But I did get a lot of emails, I got a lot of messages and a lot of comments from people saying that the video helped them with something. And as long as I can be helpful and you get something from these videos that you maybe are not able to get from other places, I would like to try and make some more. A lot of people now are in the same position that I was in when I was starting out and had absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to do, why I'm doing it, how things fit together in order to stack them together, how to train versus how to just do book learning, which is what I was really used to for my entire life before that. I had no idea how to build skills. I didn't even know if you could build a skill. I didn't know if you could get good at something that you were terrible at. So a very common thing that people asked is how to get started. That was probably about 80% of the questions, is people wondering what they need to do. How do they improve? Could they improve? A lot of questions were, am I going to be mediocre? Am I doomed to be mediocre? Is it too late if I'm 15 or if I'm 25, 35, 65, whatever the deal is? Is it too late? So a lot of the same thing that I was just talking about, not understanding if a skill can be built, how it's built, etc. We really don't get any practice in that going through school. At least I didn't. It was just memorizing a bunch of stuff, giving them back to the person that gave them to you, just seeing if you've memorized them, and that was the end. Then they say, okay, cool, you've learned this thing. But that really isn't the same learning that needs to happen here. And I know where a lot of people are stuck. I know exactly what it's like to not improve at something for years. So I had different skills that pretty much stayed the same for quite a bit of time until I understood better what they're for. And those were fundamental skills. Those were essentially drawing and painting. I misunderstood those from the very beginning. I thought they were related to essentially drawing to me was making a bunch of lines and then covering them up as quickly as possible with your painting. I thought that's what drawing was. So I thought it was just a way to measure things and put them in place so that you can cover them up with your paint. And then paint, essentially, I thought was making colored patches that fit together. But me as a beginner, I would look at an explanation like that and be like, yes, painting is just a series of patches of color together, and that's what it is. So photo bashing and 3D and other things like that are superior because they give you more information. I can change the light location, I can have all of these other things for free. So painting and drawing, they're old, outdated skills, and I will really invest my time into all the new tools of digital painting. So my drawing and painting stayed at a pretty rudimentary level for quite a few years, just because I didn't understand how they fit into the big picture. I didn't have a big picture. And I can see from a lot of the questions that I got that a lot of people are obviously lacking that same thing. It's hard to piece that thing together. I also didn't understand to what degree you can improve in something. I didn't know what it feels like, let's say, if I did invest a lot of time in drawing. So what would that give me exactly? What would it look like if I'm better at drawing versus what it is now? So is it just that I'll be making those lines faster, let's say, that delineate where things are? I really could not imagine at the time that it will be almost an entirely different way of thinking that opens up when you can do that. That you can then position forms in space, that you can think of geometry essentially the same way that like a 3D package would do, but so much quicker because you can just make a line that describes a lot of movement in 3D space and just gives you a volume so quickly rather than having to jump through the hoops of pushing points around and doing all these different things in operation. So, and I want to just put this here, and this really should be in every video. I'm just learning, right? I'm not trying, just when you watch any of my videos, just keep in mind that I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get this stuff through my head. I'm running through it 1,000 times a day, and I still need to do that a lot more times before I can get hopefully a better understanding. I won't say a complete understanding because I don't know that that's possible, and I'm just trying to hopefully save you some time with the mistakes that I've made, because I've made every single mistake there possibly is. I'm sure of that. I've tried to avoid doing this by doing that. only to realize that I've just done this, but now I also have to do that again, and that was actually the thing that I should have been doing. I've also learned things out of sequence. I studied anatomy for, this is the first thing that I started learning to draw and paint with. I started by learning anatomy and spent months on that thing, and then couldn't use it for the next 3-4 years because I couldn't draw or paint or sculpt or do anything with it. So I knew all the insertions and origins and all that stuff, but good for you, bro. Maybe you could become some sort of medical chart reading assistant and you can help people locate their gluteus maximus, but you sure can draw it though. So we're gonna be making a series of videos together. And I say together because I really need your guys' help. I need your feedback. I need you to let me know what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. I'm trying to make these for you with some of the experience that I've had with those same things. So it's really helpful for me to speak to you guys and to get your messages because one, it reminds me, but two, we all make different connections between things. So when someone asks me, hey, should I start with drawing circles and then do horse anatomy and then do 2 light sources? Is that a good way to learn to draw? Or should I draw noses only and then draw feet? And then should I do anatomy? And my end goal is to be an animator. Does that help? Should I do that? When a lot of people ask how to get started, oftentimes they mean with drawing. And drawing in general, I think, is a great way to just get started with art, even if you don't plan on, even if you want to do, let's say, paintings and not just drawings. Drawing is just an amazing way, if you understand the skill more fully, to start learning, because really things will be stacked over top of that if you study it correctly. With me, that didn't happen. With some of you, hopefully you'll get to have that experience. Drawing is a great way to learn about things, develop some mechanical accuracy, some hand-eye coordination. So you're beginning to train these things that you'll be using really forever afterwards, because when you're painting after, you'll be using the same hand-eye coordination. You still have to make shapes, you still have to put them in the right place. You will also be combining drawing with value, at least it's at some point. So essentially painting really begins to look a lot like drawing. So drawing will be like the underlying foundation of everything that comes over top of that. And you might be like me, you might be wanting to do 3D and photo bashing. I still recommend that you do drawing. So a lot of people before would say, I would see this on forums and things, people would say, you need to do traditional. You need to do traditional, bro. That's the way to do it. And I misunderstood that as well. Like, I've misunderstood everything, basically. If you see anything anywhere, I've misunderstood it. If you see a carrot somewhere, I misunderstood that thing. So when people would say traditional, I would think, well, what is this purpose of using a pencil instead of using a stylus? What could possibly be the thing here? Why? What would that matter? And people would say train traditional because training traditional would essentially force you to have to solve these problems that we're going to talk about here. It doesn't matter what you do it with. It doesn't matter if you do it with a piece of coal. It doesn't matter if you do it with a pencil. It doesn't matter if you draw with a stylus, because it's the skill and the framework of that skill that really dictates what you're going to do with that stylus or that pencil. Now, in Photoshop, let's say you can move things around. And when I'm training drawing, I don't really do that. I try to draw in the exact same way that I would draw on a paper. It's just that I'm doing it on the computer. All right, so what makes starting so hard? It's just a piece of paper, and it's just a piece of carbon that you're pushing around on it. There's a lot more that goes into it. Before we even get to drawing, there's mindset. So can you improve? Why should you even try? Like, I'm a practical guy, or at least I think of myself that way. If I'm doing something, I would like to know that it can be done. I don't want to just be running around in circles. I don't want to just be going up and down a hill for no reason. If that's all that I can possibly do with this thing, I want to know that I can get over the hill. I want to climb the mountain, right? Is it possible? So mindset is a very important thing to talk about. The fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. Some people see themselves a certain way. Other people know that if they do a certain series of things, that they can change. This is Carol Dweck's work, a book called Mindset. And it's crucial to know that you can change if you want to start doing something, because essentially drawing or painting or just art, training in art is essentially continuously changing. You're training behavior. You're training your brain to do things that it couldn't do before. So it's crucial that you know that you actually can change, that you're not fixed to be a certain way. Another thing that we're going to cover is practice. It's training. Essentially, it's replacing the emotional attachment to how something should come out. Spoken to people who unfortunately have had so much invested in making something good come out on their paper that they literally can't sit down to do it anymore because it's just so painful. They are wanting to do something so badly and they want to do it well because they care, that when they sit down to do it because they've had so much failure with it, they can't do it anymore. They can't train, they can't get started. And as a result of not being able to get started, they can't build the skill. And since they can't build the skill, they can't express themselves any better. So it just becomes this vicious cycle of, I really want to do this thing and I am unhappy because I can't do it. But at the same time, it makes me even more unhappy when I go to do it. And the worst part is that you can't break free from it in that way. You won't break free from it by trying to do harder the thing that you already can't do with the same expectations. How you break that thing is that you don't see sitting down to the piece of paper anymore as something that needs to give you a specific something to take away. You don't leave with your piece of paper with a nice drawing necessarily. What you're left with is a bunch of work, a stack of papers. You're left with something that moves you forward. You're left with practice. You're training essentially like an athlete, not to produce something, but you're training for the ability to later on produce. A lot of times when we look at someone who's very good at something, we want to do what they do. That's how we imagine it. Man, if I could only do this thing, if I could be Kobe Bryant, if I could just fly through the air, if I could just shoot from anywhere in the court, I mean, that makes sense. Why wouldn't you want to do that? When you look at someone do something, when you see someone who's mastered everything, they can just very quickly make something, seemingly without thinking about it, and just make it appear on the paper. If you try that same thing, that will most likely fail because there's many things that support that one thing that they just did. So your training may look very different to what they're doing right now. And that's what makes it confusing to start, because you will have to do things that really look nothing like what they're doing right now. And you will have to do that for a pretty long period of time. And these small little incremental things will move you forward to that. But because they look so different, if you're on your own or if you're not really sure how it is you're supposed to be training things, it becomes very confusing as to why you should do that thing that looks so different to what it is that they're doing. And then we're going to move more into trying to deconstruct drawing, trying to make something kind of like a map, hopefully, of how the different skills fit together that make up drawing, what they're for, different types of drawing. So there's atelier, there's industrial design, there's quick sketch. So there's all these different ways of drawing, but we still call them all drawing. And for someone starting out, let's say if we had 3 people draw a head and they're doing it in different techniques of drawing, they'll still have a head. It'll be a different head. But for someone starting out, any head is probably good enough. And why did you do it this way? Why was this one done? Well, this one was way faster when you were doing the drawing. You didn't have to do any volumes or stuff like that or do perspective. I could do the line thing. I would prefer to do that one. So starting out, it's hard to make sense of all these things. And why should I train the thing that takes longer when this one that just got them the head as well? Why should I do that other one? So I want to make something like a mind map or like a skill tree and kind of just try and lay these things out and talk a bit more about them and show some of them to hopefully make this a little bit easier to understand when you're starting out. And again, you guys are key. I really need this to be a dialogue, not just me talking about stuff or trying to imagine what it might be to do something right now. I need you guys to tell me what it is that you struggle with, what you find helpful, what you understand, what you don't understand, what other questions you might have, because I want these to be helpful to you. And if you can get the same thing from somewhere else that's already done, then there's no reason for me to make the videos. I want to try and do something that isn't out there. And making videos is hard. This is like my 3rd time re-recording this thing because I'm trying to keep it short and I'm not sure how long this is right now. So if you made it to the end, let me know and we can be best friends. Like the video if you like the video, and please subscribe and do the bell thing because I don't know when I'm uploading right now. I'm trying to go as fast as possible, but I need to learn to write about videos. I need to learn how long something is, which I don't know still after 3 times of doing this. I need to learn to edit. I need to learn to do a lot of things, and it's taken time, and I still have to go to work, and I still have to do all of my work, and I need to study, and I need to do all of that stuff. So it's taking me a while right now, but hopefully we'll speed these up as I go. Thank you very much, guys.